Hello everyone, this is ToadBunny and welcome back to another video. So, you may have been wondering, you may not, you probably didn't, why I haven't been making any videos recently, and that is because I had a bit of an adventure. So, sit down on the ground, turn that frown upside down, and get ready for the story of a lifetime. If your life is like really boring, then this would be the story of a lifetime, probably. So the other day, I was going to juggling class. Juggling class is where you go to learn how to juggle if you want to know how to juggle, or if you already know how to juggle, you can go there to show off to the other students and be like, ha, I'm really awesome, you suck. And then they feel sad and they go home and they hang up their juggling balls and they think, my life is ruined. And then that is a success right there. Anyway, the highlight of any juggling class is, of course, combat. Combat juggling. Combat juggling is a brutal and barbaric sport which is played by taking weapons of mass destruction into your hands, juggling them, and then attacking the other people. The weapons that you take for this sport are called juggling clubs, and they look like bowling pins, but they're even more dangerous. Like, if you picked up a bowling pin and bashed someone over the head with it, that would hurt a lot. But these things, these are like the sharks if bowling clubs were whales. In all of recorded history, juggling is the one sport with the highest mortality rate. So, you know, this really is more dangerous than gladiating. We were like, why don't we play a gentle game of combat juggling so that none of us gets injured? And all of us were like, yeah, you know, I want to live to die another day. Let's play gentle combat juggling. Now, you should know that suggesting a game of gentle combat juggling is like suggesting running into a war zone, but just to be safe, wear some pool floaties. So we were just, you know, gently walking around and gently juggling our weapons of mass destruction. So I walked up to the last player, I took a step forward, he took a step forward, and I hit my toe. Now, this wasn't even hard enough for his foot to be hurt. He was just wandering about. He was fine. I fell over on the floor, and I was like, ow, my toe hurts. And he was like, you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'll just sit out this game. So, I sat out the next game, and my toes started to hurt more and more. I was like, wow, this really hurts. This really hurts a lot. I was sweating all over. I couldn't feel my toe. It was tingling. I couldn't move it. I felt nauseous. All of these, of course, are signs of a perfectly healthy toe. So at this point, my dad had arrived and he was like, hey, you hurt your toe. And I was like, yeah, it hurts. And he was like, do you want to go to hospital? I was like, nah, there's no way this toe is broken. Spoiler alert, it was broken. So I managed to hobble my way home, put my foot up with some ice, and it just hurt more and more. And I was like, wow, this is a bad bruise. This is unfortunate. This is probably going to hurt for a couple days. So the next day I woke up, my toe was green, purple, yellow, all the worst shades of the rainbow that got left out of the rainbow. Like, all the colors in the world used to all be in one big giant rainbow, right? But then a bunch of them got kicked out because they didn't look good. These are all the colors that were on my toe, and my toe was probably the size of 5 toes. So I was like, obviously it's just bruised. We went to the doctor, and the doctor said, yeah, it's broken. Of course, we needed to get an x-ray to check. So at this point, even though the doctor had said it was probably broken, and I had all the symptoms of a broken toe that you could imagine, I was still like, man, it's probably not broken. So I went to the x-ray place, and I sat down in my chair. I hobbled in there with my crutches. I was eating a bread roll. I felt like a real combat juggling veteran at this point. And right next to me was a lovely old lady who wanted to hear my entire life story. So after recounting from birth to death, I predicted the rest of my life story just so I could tell it to this lady. She finally got called off to her appointment, whatever she was. She was probably probably every bone in her body was broken, but she was like a really tough old lady, so you know, she didn't feel the pain. So I went in to get my x-ray, and the nurse person was like, move your toe. I was like, are you looking at the same toe I'm looking at, lady? Because this toe doesn't look like the kind of toe that moves. And she was like, oh yeah, that's probably because it's broken. And I was like, Well, couldn't you have told me that earlier when you took the first 5 x-rays maybe? But of course no, she was just like, move your toe, without telling me it was broken. And I was terrified at that point, because what if I had just grabbed my toe and bent it, trying to be helpful, and I'd just like broken it completely off, just hanging by a thread. You know, she really endangered my life, so that was quite a terrifying moment right there. So up until that moment, I didn't really ever believe that my toe was broken. It didn't actually hurt as much as I thought a broken toe would hurt. I thought breaking a bone would be the most excruciating event that could possibly occur in your life. Like, I thought this was like taking 3 serrated rusty knives, stabbing them into yourself, putting a grenade in the open wound, and then lighting it with a taser. That was the kind of pain that you were going to receive from breaking a bone. But it was just kind of like, ow, that hurts a lot. So the doctor called after looking at the x-ray, and she was like, she'll be right, mate, true blue Aussie, just don't do backflips on your toe and you'll be right, mate, true blue and a fine young chicken. Except she didn't say anything like that because she was British. So then we went to the physio, and it turns out my toe wouldn't be right, mate. Because they looked at it and they were like, yo, this toe be broke, bruh. This toe be broke AF. You're probably gonna have to get it cut off. Like major amputation. You're probably gonna have to cut your leg off at the knee just to prevent the deadly infection from spreading up into your brain, and then you'll turn into a zombie, and this will end the world. And so I was like, oh dang. So they gave me this boot to wear. And so when you imagine a boot that you wear for a broken toe, you imagine maybe like something the size of a peg that just holds the toe in place. Or if you're really feeling like you need some serious protection on your toe, then you get something like a sandal with a strap over the top that keeps the toe in place. But no, this was the kind of boot that they're gonna use for the manned missions to Mars. Like, this was the kind of boot that you put this on just so that you can sink straight to the bottom of the ocean in record time. This was an Iron Man style broken toe shoe. This was like what he would have built around his toe, as that would have done everything that the entire Iron Man suit did. And that's not even talking about how difficult it was to get this shoe on and off. It was more secure than a bank vault. It took like 3 hours and a team of specialized workers and scientists. Like, this was a serious project getting this shoe on, you know? Once you got this shoe on, you were not going to take it off for as long as possible, you know? You just wanted to leave it on there forever. Like, you were going to take this shoe to your grave, because it would have been so much effort to get it back off that you probably would have died before they got it off anyway. So it turns out, to make an appointment with the fractured toe specialist person, you have to just go to the hospital at the emergency room and just wait for hours. That's how you make an appointment. There's no convenient little book, no convenient little call, you know, no receptionist with a nice potted plant on the desk that you look at and then realize it's fake after staring at it for about 3 minutes and thinking how it reminds you of the beauty of life, and then you realize it's made of plastic and you just feel really sad. Anyway, I've gone off topic a little bit. But it turned out to be okay. I was waiting 6 hours at the hospital, and that would have been really boring had they not had Teletubbies on the TV. So finally, I got an appointment with a specialist, and they said, unfortunately, we will not have to amputate on your toe. And I said, unfortunately? Like, why is that unfortunate? Like, isn't that great? And they said, no, we're going to have to remove your head from your body and put it on a life support tank. That's not actually what happened. That's not, in case you were scared, that's not actually what happened. So they said, no operation, unfortunately, because they really enjoy chopping people's limbs off. It's like, they go into work every day thinking, oh man, I really hope I have to amputate someone's whole, like, all their limbs, you know. Someone just got a splinter in their finger, their toe, their other toe, and their left knuckle, and then they just get to amputate everything. It's just, that would just be the greatest day for a doctor. But in my case, I did not need an amputation, despite their best efforts. And they said I may develop arthritis in the future, and they will have to glue the joint together, which doesn't sound pleasant, but still is better than chopping my whole body off. So what he said was, you have to put this piece of gauze between the toes to keep it from growing back in the wrong place. And I was like, too easy lemon breezy squeezy, young cheesy McNeasy. And he was like, I've never been called that before. And I was like, I've never called you that before. And it was a great bonding moment for us. So I went home, And that night, I put in the gauze, I wrapped up my toe extremely thoroughly. There was no way that gauze could possibly get out. I woke up the next morning. A third of the gauze was on the opposite side of my room. Another third of the gauze was buried underneath my bed. And the other third of the gauze had gone completely across the other side of the room. How did this happen? This toe was still completely wrapped up. It was sealed. Like, if I poured water on it for 3 hours, not a drop would have gotten in. But somehow, in my sleep, this gauze got out. I have no idea how. It is the greatest escape mystery. Like Houdini, if he really wanted to learn some insane escape tricks, he could have just sat next to my toe all night and watched how I got that gauze out. Because I honestly have no idea how the gauze got out. It's probably the greatest magic trick of all time. So now it's been about 5 weeks and my toe is getting better. In a week or so I'll be getting an x-ray to see whether it is still broken, or whether it's not broken, or whether it's somewhere in between, or whether it has somehow turned into a worm. But yeah, hopefully I can get back to making some videos now. My toe is no longer in agonizing pain, but I do have the pride of surviving a game of combat juggling despite being near mortally wounded. So I hope you enjoyed this tale of my suffering and despair, and I'll see you in the next video, unless of course you left because you were just traumatized by this dark and terrifying tale.